I'm stealing some clips here from Brush Junkie's channel. I'll leave the link in the description for those of you. I'm sure most of you are familiar with her work. She's putting out some higher quality work, in my opinion, broadening her horizons about some of the cause and the nature of these fires. But I'm trying to make this in the first shot rather than recording of a recording of a recording, because I need the higher resolution to come through on the first recording. So let's look at some of these details where the fire comes right up out of the ground.
A father who lost his home. He's going to discuss what he heard.
He's trying to make sense of what the fires left behind. His wife Roseanne screamed as the home camera filmed her running for her life after getting their 2 children out. 60 seconds later, the flames swept in, engulfing the back of the house.
Yeah, the roof has obviously gone. Our daughter's bedroom's above this conservatory, so that was it. She got the kids out. She's trying to save her babies and her house, and I can't believe what she's done and how close it could have been. Way worse.
But it's taken its toll.
Rose, she's not sleeping very well at all. She's not eating. She's struggling, I think. We worry about the children.
The fire spread.
The scary thing is Roseanne couldn't see it coming through the gardens. When she was here, she could see it coming on the field, but it was surrounding her. You can see when she ran out 30 seconds later, it's where it then ignited. You see it on the camera. It ignited about here. It's on the camera shot. That's where you see it spread from. And 30 seconds before, she'd been standing there. There's no way out.
Richard is overwhelmed as he talks of how near.
So
what I see happening here, if you didn't look close and get all OCD about it like I do, you would think that you start to see fire emerge at the bottom left corner, and then you see a line of fire along here, so you assume that it just spread across the surface, but that's not what I see. I see a fire emerging up from the ground here, and one here, and then when the white post falls over, you see another one emerge out of the ground right there. Let's watch this a few times and then zoom in. Sorry about that. We'll watch it a few times. Those are not embers landing on the grass in front of it. I have a bit of a different idea about what you're watching here. It's an electrical filament of electricity moving through the ground, emerging up, penetrating the surface, and coming up through the ground. Let's zoom in on some of those and watch these fires pop out of nowhere. I think it's pretty clear. I know it's hard for the average person to wrap their mind around, so they just jump to embers. It must have been a bunch of embers landing on the ground right there. We'll talk about that here in a minute. And I'll draw a little diagram expressing what I think is more likely the case of what we're seeing here. It seems to me like there's an electrical filament coursing through the ground right here. And at each one of these points where you see a fire erupting up out of the ground is where the electrical filament is coming up, emerging from within the ground. Right here at the beginning, you can already see one starting here, one over here, and a few little spots in between here and there. And the idea that it's embers is not an idea that I subscribe to, and I think I have a lot of evidence to support my theory. And then we're going to talk about the underground fires in Belgium that they're confirming are up to 6 meters deep, 18 feet deep, through a mud bog where the ground is so saturated it's all mud. Yet fire is continuing to creep through the ground. That's what the news headlines say. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that this too is an underground fire, just like the ones that are cruising through the mud bogs in Belgium. We're 5 minutes into this. I think I've made my point. This is just like the previous video that I made showing firefighters running over to put out a spot fire, and then right behind them where they just ran, 7 fires have emerged out of nowhere. It wasn't 7 embers, it was emerging up from within the ground. And that's what we're seeing here as well. But as you can see, each of these fires creates a line approximately right there. If it were embers, you would expect to see one here and one here and one here in random scatter pattern, but that's not what we see. We see something more like a line, like an electrical filament in the ground right there, emerging up through the surface in various different spots, and eventually all of those different spots merge together to create one consistent line of fire in alignment with the electrical filament that's running through the ground. Now we're going to watch some pieces from this video by the Times Now World. You can see the title in the thumbnail. On the thumbnail it says, "Out of control fire crawls underground. Watch, Belgium's record wildfire burns underground as blaze spreads." Let's look at the words on the bottom, control, because we have to surround it. Yes, that's the most important thing. When we have it surrounded, we can kill it, but it's not the case actually. And we have had a lot of problems because the turf is this earth, but you can burn a lot, and let's slow it down. We can kill it, but that's not the case actually. And we have a lot of problems because of the turf. The turf is this earth, but you can burn, and we had a lot of burn. We had and it's up to 6 meters into the ground. So the fire is not only on the surface, but also going down into the ground. And this fire is in a mud bog where it's all saturated already. You can see the water out here. The whole place is a soggy, saturated mud bog, where they're spraying the ground. Wait for it. They're just spraying the ground. Even though it's saturated, you see the smoke and the steam coming up from the ground. Where's the flames? That's a firefighter fighting a fire, yet you don't see any flames. Where's that water going? He's trying to put out the fire that's 6 meters underground, up to 6 meters. That number has been confirmed on Brush Junkie's video that she made on the same subject of these fires in Belgium, in the bogs of Belgium. That's all a combination of smoke and steam. She covered it quite well, but one of her reports also recited the same number, 6 meters. That's 18 feet. Why are they both saying 6 meters? Probably because that's about as deep as a track hoe can dig without widening and digging itself down into the ground. Just using the arm, the reach of the boom on a track hoe is only about 18 feet long. So they're all saying that it's burning up to 6 meters into the ground, 18 feet. And they're just sitting here spraying the already saturated mud bog with more water. What else can they do? It's underground.
So it seems the moisture is just evaporating. I did see some combustible fire, but for the most part, it seems like this fire is coming from underground and is just burning the peat. That's what they say. And I also looked up what a bog officially is, and a bog is a wetland. It's a type of wetland. So it's made out of, in this case, mud, of decayed matter, trees and things like that. And it gets this one in particular gets its moisture from precipitation. So these peat bogs have to exist in areas with high precipitation and cooler temperatures. This one in particular has been developing for like around 10,000 or more years. And the bog is, and this is what the fire official said, the bog goes 6 feet at least down. So that's why the firefighters are having a hard time accessing some of these places, because they can't go in these areas.
6 meters, 6 meters.
Environment, So that's why the firefighters are having a hard time accessing some of these places because they can't go in these areas. It's dangerous. And a bog is an anaerobic environment. It lacks oxygen. And this man is going to say exactly that. I have to take the music out, but he says it's going to take months for this to be settled. And the peat continues to burn in places without oxygen. And you can see it from the surface, and it reignites in areas in different spots that are kind of far away. And so they have to keep monitoring it over an extended period of time because it keeps coming back. So it's turning out to be a very tricky situation to handle. And then this guy, he's got a strong accent, but I'll play it really, it's very short.
But it's not the case actually, and we have a lot of problems because of the torf. The torf is this earth what you can burn. We had a lot of this, and it's up to 6 meters into the ground. So the fire is not only on the surface, but also going down.
So the point she made about the bog being anaerobic, meaning it has no oxygen, that means standard combustion fire cannot exist under there. I mean, you didn't need a scientist to use fancy words to tell you that. Everyone knows fire needs oxygen, and even in standard soil and dirt, there's not enough oxygen out there for regular fire to burn, so it's underground electricity. She's about to show you a tree burning from within that also comes from Belgium, which is another standard burn signature of these ground current electricity fires coming up, burning the tree from the inside out.
The tree, here's a tree in Belgium. Did I play the tree? Here's a tree in Belgium.
This is also on Brush Junkie's latest live stream. I'll leave the link because I'm sure the audio and video are out of sync and it's annoying to watch people speak when their words aren't matching their mouth. But what he describes here is proof that embers don't burn things the way that we've been told they do. When he describes wooden structures, raw wood that's been through a kiln, drying out the wood, plywood and 2x4s, that makes its way through these fires just fine, but the other houses that have the wiring and the metal piping ran through them and the rebar embedded within the concrete driveway and such things and the foundation, those structures are turned to dust. Meanwhile, the wooden structures that are just a plywood frame up of a house without anything in them, they last just fine. The other structures have asphalt shingles on the roof to protect them from embers, yet they go up in flames. This is proof embers don't just land on things and catch them ablaze, like we've been led to believe with all these people who attribute everything in these fires to flying embers.
Or what do you
and
call
all
it?
the way around. It skirted the new development, which has a massive gravel area and all kinds of.
Yeah, so there's all these fire breaks already, way bigger fire break than you could run with a bulldozer. You know, like you said, the bypass, all the concrete commercial area that didn't burn, all that stuff, and then the new development, which is multiple story wood structures. They're plywood roof still. They're in that phase. They're not even dried in. Those are just. You get big embers that are burning down the city. Touch that thing, it's over with, right? There's nothing, even no asphalt shingles yet. That stuff was fine. And then right behind it are homes that are made of concrete and old growth trees that are wet, that are very hard to catch on fire, and all that stuff just came above somehow, came uphill, down into there, and through that grass. I mean, there's no shrubs or anything, just grass this tall, burnt down all of Waikoulia.
So these are survivors from the Lahaina fire, where there was huge amounts of wind, and like you said, if all these embers that are just burning down the city, if one of those landed on this plywood structure, certainly it would go up in flames. Certainly there were plenty of embers landing on that plywood structure with all the wind and all the fire that was surrounding it right next to it, as you described. Surely there was hundreds of thousands, if not millions of embers that landed on this dry plywood structure, yet did not catch it on fire. Ergo, embers don't light things on fire the way that we are told they do. So these underground fires are the explanation where embers fail to explain it. People who want to believe what they want to believe. A person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. No matter what you show them or how much evidence you provide, they will not discard their old ideas, particularly if those ideas are recited by many, many other people, like directed energy weapons, or confirmed by authority figures, like when they tell you it's embers doing all of this. But I think what we're seeing right there is fire emerging right up out of the ground. And again, that's not inconceivable. All these other fires are under the ground. Belgium is not the first place they've told us recently that the fires are underground. In Canada, they said fires are deep underground. We have to dig them up to extinguish them. Why would it not also be underground here? And that's where it's coming from. Once you accept that, the evidence starts to make sense.